Hello, everyone. We're very happy to have you all with us today on the Lunch and Learn conference. So my name is Sarah. I'm in charge of the public workshops at ESA. So we're very happy to have this collaboration between ESA and ISCOM. So I'll introduce a bit our speaker for today, who's Ghalia Boustani, who will be sharing with us her vision on the pop-up stores and all the insights you need to know. So I'll leave it to you, Ghalia. Again, thank you, ISCOM, for this amazing collaboration. And I'll leave it to you, Ghalia, to introduce yourself and to start the conversation.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everyone. And I'm happy that I'm doing this talk today and sharing with you some of the knowledge and insights on pop-up stores. A very beautiful introduction started with me and ESA and the research at ESA in 2014, where I had the chance to work on pop-up stores in the Middle East and specifically in Lebanon. I have now moved on with this research on pop-up stores and have been working a lot on pop-up stores in France. So I will be sharing with you some of the information and insights that I have been gathering on pop-up stores, which are pretty much introductory and fun to look at. And would like to also highlight the fact that my research concentrates a lot on the pop-up store, specifically on its atmosphere, on the retail atmosphere of this store format and consumer behavior. So I'll be talking to you about that and we'll be showing you lots of examples. And after that brief introduction on the topic, if you have any questions, I will be also very happy to answer them for you. So thank you, ISCOM and ESA, for inviting me to this talk. So without further ado, pop-up stores, yes, these are ephemeral types of stores, but they are here to stay. Actually, we started talking about pop-up stores 20 years ago, and it was a phenomenon that hit the retail world as it came as a format that was not recognized and that was not conformed to any other retail format that we knew. So pop-up stores started appearing in different shapes, sizes, and they were fun, they were intriguing, and they were raising a lot of curiosity amongst consumers. So it was very common at certain points to be walking down the beach and seeing a big hangar with merchandise that are very summery, or going downtown and suddenly looking at a giant shoebox in which you're going to discover the latest collection of a brand. So pop-up stores started using that wow effect and started looking at ways to intrigue consumers who were very bored with traditional retail at the time. And they were said that every time they appeared in a location, they gave flavor to the retail environment as they were engaging, they were beautiful, they were having this wow effect. And what increased the attention towards pop-up store is the fact that they were unexpected and very limited in time. So a pop-up store is there, and the other day it wouldn't be there. As simple as that. And some researchers and professional retailers defined pop-up stores as guerrilla stores or flash stores or seasonal or fleeting stores, all of which go back to the same idea related to the fact that a pop-up store should not be a lifelong or should not be staying for long in a specific location. It's important, though, to look at pop-up stores as they are exclusive, attractive, and stimulating to consumers. These terms incite us to look at pop-up stores as very emotional connecting type of stores, because as soon as consumers are facing them, they would engage in a certain experience, and after that it would produce positive word of mouth. And this is something that is very valuable to brands. And ephemeral stores, or these pop-up stores, give today a new expression for brands, a new way to present themselves physically or digitally to consumers in a world of retail that had become very boring, specifically after 2000 and 2010. And I'm going to be explaining how. So since the birth of this temporary type of retail, we have seen also that these stores were accompanied with a lot of digital technologies. It's only natural and normal that pop-up stores and digital technologies grow together, because since the advent of the internet at the beginning of the year 2000, and we're saying that in a context of retail, we have seen that technology started taking over more spaces in retail environments. So digital technologies and pop-up stores married a lot together, and within that digital sphere helped spike the social media mentions related to pop-up stores. So if I would give you an example, a customer would go inside a pop-up store. There is a fun photo booth. You would take a picture with your friends, your surroundings, and you would directly upload it on your social media sites, tag the brand, tag your friends, and this thing keeps going and it gets viral. And it's important also to mention that pop-up stores are very theatrical types of formats. Even though we could find them inside a shopping mall or a boutique or on the high street, it's okay. But as soon as you go into that store, you would see that the atmosphere is designed in a particular way and that they are very theatrical and very immersive. And the idea behind that type of design is to allow the customer to get in touch and connect with the brand and with other consumers throughout the visit to the store. This induces another type of important retail reaction, which is a conversational aspect between the brand and the consumer within that retail store format. So yes, pop-up stores are store retail formats that could be physical. However, their physical aspect has to be very theatrical and immersive to allow customers to engage with the brand, and later on that conversation should hopefully help the brand go viral and create a certain buzz around it. There are advantages to a format, and there are also inconveniences, and this is also something very important to talk about, because for quite some time, when pop-up stores started hitting the retail world and integrating most of the retail strategies, they would say that a pop-up store would solve a solution of a brand. It could help the brand in solving many solutions or meeting many objectives, as it is agile, it is easily mounted, dismounted, it is transportable, it is a movable format, it is easygoing, and unconventional. Yes, all of these are advantages to pop-up stores. However, a pop-up store done once in a very limited duration of time, if not repeated frequently, and if not expanded geographically, could not help the brand attain the objective related, for example, to sales or visibility as it wants to. And we should not be fooled by the fact that a pop-up store does not cost a lot of money when it's developed, as it is. When we compare it to a traditional store, yes, we see that there might be a fraction of the amount of money put there. However, we have to be really careful to when we're doing many pop-up stores, as the bill might get very high to the brand, and the question of returns on investment or experience has to be questioned at a certain point. So pop-up stores are very interesting to brands, as I have just explained, but they are also very interesting to consumers, because postmodern consumers, and especially after the 2008 global recession, started looking for exciting concepts, or concepts that are immersive and very novel, and concepts that are worth visiting. we have to also understand that throughout that period, online retailing became very common. So customers could access their products easily. Pop-up stores were solutions for those customers who are looking for something different and not only looking to acquire a product. And this is important to understand in the context of ephemeral retailing. So to move on a little bit, we would understand that the characteristics of pop-up stores are related to the fact that they are hit and run retailing. You just put them here, you do something, an engaging guerrilla activity or an event, and then you take that concept and you move somewhere else. They are not anchored geographically. They do not root in a certain location. However, they add a lot of flavor and excitement and engagement during that period of time when they appear. And they are said to be magical because these spaces create a transitional moment between the physical reality and the virtual space. And I also said that consumers who are postmodern have become also hybrid. Hybrid consumers are looking at not only experiences, they are looking to experience those experiences between the physical world and the digital world. So we see that they are always equipped with their smartphones. They are now pretty much connected. Therefore, our pop-up stores conception, specifically the pop-up stores atmosphere, should take into consideration this new consumer mindset and new consumer behavior to develop an ephemeral store context which allows all of its dimensions like the design, the aesthetics, and the social dimension to be very reflective of what the consumer expects from his visit to the pop-up store. Many of us would have the tendency to ask, okay, but how would a pop-up store be defined? And what is a winning formula to a pop-up store? No one, I believe, could have a definite or a clear answer to that question because pop-up stores in their nature are very agile and could be modulated or shaped in different ways. The most important thing is to have a formula that best fits the brand and the brand's objective at that moment in time. So the pop-up store's format and the choice of location, the seasonality are very important. So it has to appear at the right moment, right timing, and the right location. And within that pop-up store, we have to also conceive what's going to be happening inside. Are we going to be selling something or are we only presenting an event around the brand? Therefore, everything related to assortment, event, or any happenings within the pop-up store have to also be conceived related to that moment in time and that timing and that seasonality. So it's very peculiar as the hour or the day or the moment of implementation of the pop-up store are going to either make or break the concept. And I move on forward to show you many types of brands and many types of industries who have been adopting pop-up stores. As we have also seen many fashion brands developing pop-up stores. But recently and during the pandemic, we have seen other types of brands such as banks and restaurants developing pop-up store concepts as they wanted to meet specific objectives related to their distribution or communication strategies. What I also intend to show you in these upcoming slides is the fact that we define pop-up stores as very experiential and very dramatic or theatrical. However, we might encounter lots of pop-up stores who are less theatrical and less dramatic, which lead us to think of pop-up stores as being able to cater for smaller brands that are more transactional and other types of brand that are looking for more event-oriented types of pop-up stores. And this is very important to understand when it comes to decision-making and managerial decision-making. So here we go. These are some examples. First of all, we see that pop-up stores could be anything and look like anything. Yves Saint Laurent, for example, has recreated a station-like pop-up store to sell makeup and on a desertic highway because there was a Coachella, for example, concert, and all the targeted consumers going to that concert would be very intrigued to come and check out this pop-up store. You would see that Nike, for example, works on different types of pop-up stores. We have seen the Nike shoebox. However, we see lots of other theatrical pop-ups that are design-based and that could tell a story related to a brand. We also noticed that many pop-up store events, such as the one on the bottom left-hand side, could always intrigue consumers to come and visit them, which creates lots of talk about it and lots of people queuing up to come and check out what's happening or going to happen. So pop-up stores could pop in different locations. We know that they could be recreating a format such as a shoebox in the middle of a square or on a high street, or it could be inside a store, similar to any other concession that we know. And you could see it, for example, at the left-hand side. Le Bon Marché or Selfridges department stores host many pop-up stores throughout the year, and these pop-up stores are smaller normally in terms of square footage and always presenting merchandise that is different or unique. On the right-hand side, you see other types of pop-up stores happening in boutiques. This one, for example, in a famous location in Paris at Le Marais, was presenting an AliExpress pop-up store, which is an online retailer coming to a physical location to present a certain concept to consumer. We see other types of pop-up stores which are multi-brand stores. In this case, one manager organizes a theme and invites different designers to come together and pop up for a couple of days and present their collections and merchandise. We have seen many cities around the world hosting these concepts. This one is an example of a multi-brand pop-up store happening in Paris in the 3rd arrondissement. Pop-up stores could also be very immersive. I have included all the links in the chat box for those who are intrigued to check out videos related to these pop-up stores. This, for example, brand created a universe, like a jungle universe, in a boutique in which it was just presenting a new fragrance that it was launching. Other pop-up stores could also happen in malls. I have specifically inserted that example to show you that this pop-up store was not immersive nor theatrical, and many people who visited had many negative comments about it. It was a shame because the idea of the pop-up was putting together many made-in products, made in France products, and the decor was not at all immersive and customers couldn't understand what is being presented. But it's a good example to show. And pop-up stores could also be kiosks. We see lots of malls today allocating their hallways or spaces within their ground floor or first floors, for example, for brands to come and present their concepts through little kiosks. This is an example of a pop-up store at the Champs-Élysées that was presenting a football team products. And we see that pop-up stores are very commonly introducing collaborations with brands. Sometimes the pop-up store is the result of an event. For example, Under Armour was launching a new collection in a pop-up store with another brand, which is My Protein. And a year ahead of the pop-up store's date, social media had shared a challenge. So the brand would adopt 2 or 3 couples who wanted to undergo a challenge to change their looks or get fit, etc. And this conversation was followed up on social media. And the pop-up store, after 1 year, was the result of this collaboration. It presented a capsule collection of the Under Armour brand and helped customers discover the collaborating brands' products like the protein shakes, protein bars, etc. Inside the pop-up store, there were lots of sports activities and events, and the collection was minimally exposed because the idea was not selling the collection rather than presenting it in the context of usage. These are other examples of collaborations that you see, for example, a recent Loewe and Spirited Away pop-up store showing or showcasing a collection of resulting from that collaboration. And you would see that the pop-up store in this case is very theatrical and very immersive. And it has become like the next normal thing that a luxury brand would do. Other types of pop-up stores could take the form of events and events in showrooms. A couple of years ago, a catalog brand, which is a very famous catalog brand called La Redoute, has taken over a big space at Le Marais and have showed universes recreated by bloggers using products from this catalog and recreating their universe. So you would see only the product itself, but you could not buy it. You have to go and buy it online. And inside that pop-up store, you could book for sessions related to hand knitting, drawing, or other types of crafts. All of the products are available naturally on the catalog, but the idea was not to sell, rather to show people about the universes and the style of collections that could be bought. Bringing up influencers was also a great way to gather more people and to create a social and online exchange and then get people into the store. Another example, also around Christmas, was a multi-brand store. This happens on a bigger level, gathering different types of brands, not necessarily under a theme, but under a conglomerate of brands. We see lots of these event pop-up stores happening over a weekend or 3 days, which customers could come and check, discover new brands, but also have a special moment, such as having some foods and drinks, meeting the designer or the entrepreneur, checking out the collection, and they could have more of a transactional aspect than an event-based aspect. And many pop-up stores that we see that could happen on a longer duration of time could look like exhibitions. A Shiseido pop-up store happened a couple of years ago in Paris, in which the brand presented the collection, the new collection. However, it presented it through lots of digitalized pods. So you could go in front of a pod, pick up the cream or the product in question, and the screen would interact with you, suggesting if it was okay for your skin type, how you could use it, the benefits of that product, etc. And on another section in that pop-up store, we could see a sensual representation of the brand, its activities, and the values of the brand, which helps us really get to know that brand better and understand where it comes from and why its products or the offering is so valuable. I'm not going to take a lot of time, I'm going to show you a couple of more examples related to immersive pop-up stores, such as the Cartier, for example, Cara pop-up store, in which a perfume had been launched, but the pop-up store was really simple in design. However, it has a sort of dark room in which the customer could register or opt-in information about him, his email address, etc., and go into that room, and it would be like absolutely dark and black, and we would understand the relation of light, refractions of light, sound, and all of these things that inspired the perfume. It's really important for us to know that the brand would benefit a lot from opt-ins. All of these customers who came to the store would give in for free data that is very valuable and would help the brand get in touch with customers and understand more if they had any particular questions or thoughts or comments related to the brand. And this is very, very important and valuable to brands today, because we're coming and giving in information for free. We'd see that the past 5 or 6 years, pop-up store managers have paid a lot of attention to everything related to social media. Whenever a pop-up store pops in for a weekend, you would see that you have live recording on Instagrams and Facebook on the hour, showing people coming in, what they are buying, asking them questions. Everything is happening in a very natural and authentic way, and social media became the best friend of pop-up stores because it is conveying at the moment or instantly what's happening in the pop-up store and inciting other people who might be watching and who are around the corner to come and visit. I don't know if you have heard about the pop-up store conglomerate, which was like the initiator of pop-up restaurants, which is Boxpark. An English or British concept that was also transposed to another country later on. And during the pandemic, we have seen, like, first of all, this big or impressive pop-up retail conglomerate format. During and after the pandemic, there was the rise of micro-leasing, a concept such as Souk, who started in 2019 and debuting the success stories in 2020, said, okay, you don't want to rent a pop-up for a weekend, you could rent it even for an hour. So the concept of micro-leasing took place, and it was even more successful because brand could hook up with consumers that they want to hook up with even for an hour or half an hour, might be before going into work, after going out of work. So the idea is like hooking up with the customer with a very specific moment in time, and this could happen with micro-leasing. And I believe that most of us have read and heard about pop-up stores that are mobile. If the brand today cannot see customers, and customers are having trouble commuting, going out, or they are confined, it's no biggie. The brand would develop a mobile pop-up store and would drive towards the customer around the corner in front of their area of living. Louis Vuitton has done it. If luxury brands are taking these actions, it's because today it's important for us to be closer to consumers in any form possible. And if we could do it in a beautiful way, such as a mobile pop-up store, so why not do it? I believe, stop here, and because I think I have done my 25-30 minutes, and I would be happy to answer any questions related to pop-up stores. If I may just take a second to explain a little bit about the concept of my work. As I earlier presented at the beginning of this presentation, I said that I particularly look at the pop-up store atmospheres and their influences on consumer reactions. And if I may just tell you a little bit about this type of research, I would say that it's important to look at the extent to which pop-up stores' atmospheres have an effect on consumer emotions and behaviors. Because pop-up stores could be a mediating type of format, wishing to, at a certain point, arouse certain feelings with customers and then invite them to do the transaction elsewhere, like in a traditional store, in a click and collect, or online. It's important also to understand that in the case of pop-up stores, consumers could have different types of behavior related to their culture or to their direct geographical environment. My research, for example, showed that in Middle Eastern countries, consumers who come to pop-up store come up to check them out because they are perceived as social events, like happenings, and we have to be there because everyone else is there. Whereas in Europe, specifically in France, customers who visit pop-up stores is because they want to either not miss an event or miss a brand's capsule collection, or hopefully make up the best to get that special deal before it fades away. So for them, there is an objective to visiting a pop-up store, either related to acquisition or living an experience. It's important to see that one phenomenon, which is pop-up store, that becomes more and more adopted by brands in different countries through different types of brands, either luxury or low-end or mass or prestige. Every type of brand is adopting a pop-up store to serve a purpose, and we're seeing that the objective behind it might relate to either a transactional finality or non-transactional finality. And it's also very interesting to see how consumers perceive that pop-up store at a specific moment in time. So I believe that this is about everything that I wanted to tell you today. I hope it has been enriching for you. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me. I don't know, Sarah or Jimmy, if you want to just continue, or if you would like me to continue if I have a couple of more minutes. I don't know if I'm allowed to, given the time.
Thank you, Ghalia, for the very interesting presentation. Personally, I would like to ask a question. From your point of view, where do you think the future of pop-up stores will be in presence now of the e-commerce and all the digitization and the metaverse word that is coming to us recently?
Thank you, Sarah, for that question. Most of us are like thinking that physical retail might be very endangered because online retailing is taking over. However, we are understanding more and more that online and offline are not at all threatening one to the other. They are very complementary one to the other. Today's physical stores are becoming more complementary to online stores, as customers would come there to live a particular experience or to gather other types of needs that are not product related. So they would experience something, live something different, acquire an emotional value rather than a product or a functional value related to the product. So pop-up stores are going to be staying here, and they are going to help more online brands, or as we say, like the NVB brands, manifest physically and come closer to the customers. I mean, if Amazon is doing pop-up stores, or AliExpress or Shein are doing pop-up stores, it would say that these giant online retailers do need a physical form from time to time, because customers or human beings still need to get in touch, to feel or to connect with that. Moreover, pop-up stores still help in creating that emotional value to brands. It's important for us to use them well, to use them at the right moment, and to include them in not only an omni-channel perspective, but in a unified commerce perspective. Today, we understood that the customer journey is very important. If we digest it and we understand how our customers behave and what they expect from us, using different types of formats, whether online, offline, click and collect, and ephemeral, such as pop-up stores, would only enhance this unified journey. For example, I would say that if you are today walking in Beirut or in Paris, you just stumble on a pop-up store, you see that Chanel is presenting its newest bag, but you cannot buy it here, you have to register online, and whenever the opening allows you to purchase it, you would purchase it, and maybe you would receive it in your hotel room or in your home country or elsewhere. And this tells us that the pop-up store would have initiated a journey and not only been there just to be there, like to happen for no reason at all. I don't know if it answers your question.
Yes, thank you so much.
And Sarah, I don't know if we are also allowed to have a couple of minutes. Many people would say that do pop-up stores only happen in a luxury context or a mass context. I would say that luxury brands and low-end brands both have pop-up stores. We have seen the more theatrical, the more beautiful, maybe pop-up stores presented by luxury brands. Maybe it's the fact that they know how to use it differently, and they have the human capacity and the financial capacity to develop these types of stores. Nevertheless, we are seeing more mainstream brands using or adopting pop-up stores because they help them revive the brand, reinvent it, and connect better to consumers. Also to add on that. And the latest example, if I may, was the Hermès Fit, a luxury pop-up store that was initiated and with different events like related to sports around the world, and that helped consumers not only connect with the brand, but added on this equity, the brand equities throughout, because it was an event that was talked about a lot on media, social media, and there were lots of articles about it. And we would see that this luxury brand had initiated all of these events and helped customers somewhere every time in a major city to come meet the brand for a little moment through its event-based pop-up store. Right, so it was really also very interesting. And we see like other types of brands, which might not be luxury, but premium or high-end brands, also investing a lot in that pop-up and event-based attitude, because it engages a lot with customers, it tells a story, and it celebrates the brand in so many ways. I mean, Coach have been doing pop-up stores for the past 3 or 4 years in an exceptional way. Every time you go online, you would see that they are popping up somewhere and reinventing the space very differently. And who does better luxury pop-up stores than Louis Vuitton or Dior, for example? The Dior Capri latest pop-up store, capsule pop-up store in Italy was a major success. Louis Vuitton have been recreating pop-up stores either through virtual projections, either through immersive or impactful designs, doing it on its own or collaborating with other designers. And if I'm showing you this, it's because this brand started doing pop-up stores at least a decade ago. And every time is telling a different story throughout its pop-up store. So these are examples that I wanted to show you. And the latest, for example, was the mobile truck that we have seen, and shows us that the pop-up store could be very theatrical or could be very simple yet impactful in its essence. So these are the examples of the Dior pop-up that I showed to you, and a latest example of the Hermès refurbishing on Rue de Sèvres in Paris, where the store was unbelievably beautiful. You would see that the brand has really invested in the interiors, in the details, in the quality. Most of the people, customers even who are not directly able to purchase from the brand, could be interested because they have a special connection with the brand, to the story, or to the message that is being transmitted, therefore would come and do the effort to be closer to the brand through its pop-up store, through its immersive pop-up store. And finally, and to conclude, since I have this little minute, I would invite you to think that pop-up stores also have become ways for brands, like high-end brands, to collaborate with different industries and maybe different brand levels. And we have seen the rise of pop-up stores lately of luxury brands with sports brands, such as Gucci and the North Face. And we have seen their beautiful pop-up stores around the world, and also their collections, like their special connections that have been promoted within. So yeah, I mean, this is really important to look at and to present in that case. I don't know, Sarah, if you have other questions. Okay, Elena, I see I have found the the question. Can pop-up stores be used to sell services too? Is it more difficult? Elena, thank you for your question. Yes, pop-up stores do help many brands that are service-based to sell their concepts, or be a way to introduce customers to their concepts. We have seen lately even banks like HSBC presenting different pop-up stores throughout to come closer to customers, to attend to their needs, or to answer the needs of potential customers who might be looking for specific answers and couldn't find those online or in the traditional way. Moreover, you can see that many service pop-up stores could just happen to pop up in a certain type of format to help customers understand about the services being provided, the concept, and redirect them onto their websites, etc. So yes, it's very common. And if I might say that in the services industry, there are lots of also pop-up restaurants and pop-up hotels that are becoming more common, which is a great way for a chef, for example, or a Michelin star restaurant and chef working together on a themed menu, presenting it through a pop-up store, and so on. I don't know if it answers your question, Elena, and I'm happy to answer another. And I don't know if it's also worth, thank you, Elena. I don't know if it's worth saying also that this mixture between having a brand, an online store, social media, the pop-up store, and creating lots of things related to the online gaming world, and the result related to the collection or kicking off the project would always happen either at the pop-up store as a beginning, or in the pop-up store as a result or an end of that event. And it's really beautiful, because we can see that if used correctly, pop-up stores would always help the brand meet or achieve an objective, and helps in telling that story, connecting with customers and creating that link, that relevant link between brand, customers, and the community of consumers. Right. So I believe I was thinking yes, it's a beautiful project, Elena. Many schools, like design schools teaching visual merchandising, have been also creating pop-up stands to invite people or potential students to come discover the world of that school, of the courses being attended, in a very immersive way and theoretical way. It's part of their, like, sometimes end of year project. However, it creates lots of buzz around the school, around the campus, and within the community. So yes, why not? It could be an interesting thing to do as well. Thank you for that, Elena. Sarah, I don't know if you have any other questions or if we can wrap the session. You tell me.
From my side, I have no more questions. If you have any last recommendation or last note you would like to add.
I would say that pop-up stores are really like very interesting retail formats that could be adopted by anyone and everyone. It's important, though, to plan them well and to work on them well. I would invite everyone who has questions or thoughts on pop-up stores, or maybe ideas that they are looking to develop, to discuss them with us. And it would be always a great way to take the research on this beautiful topic further. I would invite everyone to go to YouTube. There are lots of videos on pop-up stores and lots of examples. I have inserted the links for you there. And every time I visit different types of pop-up stores, I try to film the experience or myself within the pop-up environment. So it would be something interesting for you to see. So I would invite you to do that, and hopefully we'll be sharing more on pop-up stores with you. I don't know if I'm allowed to say, Sarah, that some books on pop-up retail have also been developed lately. So I invite you, if you're curious enough, to check them out and to check different research or publications related to pop-up stores and pop-up store atmospheres, on customer reactions that are available online and in open sources. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Ghalia.
It was a good or a new inspiring talk to you all.
Thank you so much for this very nice immersion into the pop-up concept. I would like to thank again ISCOM team and Elena for this very nice opportunity between ESA and ISCOM. And we look forward for the future Launch and Learn conferences.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ISCOM and ESA. Bye.
Bye.